Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Franchise Hockey Manager stream. I'm Jeff Riddles, the producer of FHM. I normally have Adam, our community manager, on here with me. Unfortunately, he's had some sort of a last-minute plumbing emergency, which sounds terrifying. So he's either not going to be on tonight or will be not on till a little bit later, hopefully if everything goes well for him. So I am on my own. I think I've got everything working. Let me know if the sound volume is a little off or anything like that. But I think everything's okay, and we've got the correct title for the broadcast, so everything looks fine on Steam or on Twitch rather. Also streaming this on Steam as well. So if you hear me answering questions in the chat and you don't see them on Steam, that's the Twitch chat I'm responding to. Sharpie58 says you can do it. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I think I can manage. So what we're doing here is we've gone back to for this week's stream, gone back to the end of the WHA. So this is now on July 1st, 1979. And we played out the 78-79 season not too well, unfortunately. Let me just quickly jump to our team history. I'm playing Cincinnati Stingers, who played their last season. Oh, that's funny. I thought we had season records history for the WHA. I have to go back and take a look at that. But you can see how we did there. 21, 54, and 3. Pretty ugly. Probably lucky not to get fired. But we didn't. And this normally would have been the end of Cincinnati. We would have, in 1979, the NHL absorbed 4 of the WHA teams. The WHA went out of business. And Winnipeg, Edmonton, New England / Hartford, which they became the NHL, and Quebec moved into the WHA, or moved into the NHL rather than WHA, leaving the remaining 2 existing WHA teams, Cincinnati and Birmingham, to fold. They wound up with AHL or CHL teams. Cincinnati went into the AHL and Birmingham into the CHL, which was at the time the other AAA minor league. And WHA had also lost Indianapolis, who had gone out of business a few games into the season 79-80, which was despite the fact that they had Wayne Gretzky. So he moved on to Edmonton, and we know how that turned out. In our game, no, it worked out a little bit differently. I'll show you the history of last season. Just waiting for it to pop up. There we go. No, that's this season. I want last season. And it went considerably better for Indianapolis this year, or last year rather, than, they didn't go out of business. And it turns out they won in the playoffs. Surprisingly, they actually managed to trade for Gordie Howe near the end of the season. So it was Howe and Gretzky playing together in the playoffs, and they upset the Jets in the first round. And Quebec managed to upset New England on the other side of the pyramid, and it was Quebec and New England, or Quebec and Indianapolis rather, in the final. And Indianapolis won the upset, so Gretzky wins the Avco Cup, what would have been the last Avco Cup, and it would have been kind of embarrassing for the WHA if they had gone out of business at this point with a team, and their champions would have been a team that didn't move on to the NHL. But instead, what we're doing, what I've done is use the historical editing options in FHM to turn off. You can see I've shut down the team deactivation and team activation options. So when I move to 79, normally and I've also shut down league deactivation. So normally in the game, the WHA would shut down. The 4 former WHA teams would show up in the NHL, and there'd be no more Cincinnati Stingers, for one. But since I've turned that all off, WHA will keep its format that it had for the last season and move into 79-80 and continue playing after this. So I think this will be interesting to see how this league winds up evolving. How it would have, if the merger had fallen through and the WHA had kept going, what would have happened. I think it's likely. I mean, you can see near the end, particularly, I think it's really obvious in Indianapolis's roster now. Maybe not so much. They've only got Gretzky and Messier as the under-18s, or under, well, they were under 18 last year. But they would tend to sign a lot of younger players who would get in a few seasons, and this was sort of the pattern for the last couple of WHA seasons, and then move on to the NHL. So we'll see how long Indianapolis can hang on to Gretzky. Had a huge year last year, 139 points. I think he finished with 110 in his actual WHA season. Messier, slower start, but he's going to be huge for them as well. And they've also, surprisingly enough, managed to sign Kevin Lowe, who would have been an Oiler draft pick this season, going in the NHL. This season, or no? It would have been this season. So they've got 3 future Oilers who, would have been future part of the Oilers dynasty in the 80s to build around. They have also signed Brandon Propp out of Brandon, Brian Propp, rather, out of Brandon, the WHL, where he was setting scoring records there. Instead of Propp going to the Flyers, he signs in the WHA. So I think what we'll see here is there's a lot of that type of thing where the guys who would have been high NHL draft picks wind up signing in the WHA at 18 or 19. And the thing I want to deal with first right now is what we want to do for the upcoming season. So we've got 7 teams in the WHA at this point. I think I want to jump that up to 8. And I'll do that with the league structure editor. And let's see, I can't remember if this includes. No, I don't want to import historical team. I want to add. No, we don't have the WHA teams in this. So I think what we'll do for the WHA going forward in this is add teams back that went out of business, or at least the cities that had those teams in the WHA, and sort of retroactively get the WHA back to that 10 to 12 team format that they had for most of their existence before they started to dwindle over the last couple of years. So the first team to go back in, you can see the game gives you a randomized team name, but I'm going to put the Houston Aeros back into business, and we should have the graphics for them. And I will keep the same schedule length. I think that's fine. I don't need to do anything else. I will set up an expansion draft in a second, but I just want to. There we go. Yeah, good. We got the logo. And let's see, is the summit? Yes, the summit is in there. Graphics okay. No, not Philadelphia, they're in Houston. And primary color looks okay, but that secondary one is a little off. That should be that paler blue. I don't need to do that because it'll have the uniforms, but that's the one I used. That should get us something reasonably close to the real uniforms. And settings look pretty much okay. It won't start with any rivals. That wouldn't make sense. So they're saved now. I want to set up an expansion draft here. But it's going to be a pretty punitive one. But then I don't want to give them a lot of players, because I think they would have been pretty much, if WHA had actually done this, I'm pretty sure they would have been on their own to build their roster by signing free agents primarily. Doesn't need to be 26 rounds. Let's say, well, let's see, wait, we got 7 teams here. Let's give them 2 players from each of the existing teams. So 14 rounds total. And let's see. Let each team protect 17 players. That seems reasonable. It'll be the bottom couple of guys from their lineup, because they're still really going to have to build with free agents, but we'll give them a few players to get started. And maximum 2 players lost per team. And we'll go with 1 goalie round and then 13 skater rounds, whatever the AI wants to do for skaters. That should be reasonably flexible. Age base, I don't think I'm going to give it any exemptions just because the WHA is so young at this point. There's a lot of 17, 18-year-olds. If I did that, there would not be very many players at all available for them. So I think I will just leave that completely blank. Nobody gets excluded. There we go. Now on the other side, there's the NHL, who you actually see the Canadiens dynasty ended a little early last year, and the Islanders wound up winning the Cup, which gets their dynasty started slightly earlier. See how that's the playoffs went. Montreal wound up losing to the Islanders in the semifinals. 6 games. It was Boston on the other side coming through, and the Islanders beat the Bruins in 6 to win their first cup. So I think now if the WHA merger hadn't gone through, I don't think the NHL would have just stood still with 17 teams the way it was. So I think we would have seen some NHL expansion at least by 1 team this year. And I think the way I'm going to do this is bring New Jersey in a season early. Normally Colorado would be moving to New Jersey in 82, at the end of 81, 82. And I think the arena was probably, the Brent Arena was probably built at this point, so they would have had a team there. Or they would have had an arena to play in, rather. And then I think we'll probably expand them by 2 more teams next year, and probably do the same thing for the WHA. But we will add 1 NHL expansion team to get them up to an even 18 teams. And that will be New Jersey. And where are they going to go? Thing is, the conferences weren't really geographically aligned at this point, so I think it would probably make more sense to put them in the Wales. And then I think we'll do an NHL realignment after this season, after the next expansion, so I think you can get to something that makes a little more sense geographically after that. So I'm going to use add his team, and that's add his team, not import his team, because if I imported a historical team, it would give me all the players as well, and we don't want that in this case. And all right, they're not. Yeah, that won't be in there because we're still going to the actual franchises there, so have to do it this way. And generate a schedule for them. There we go. Oh, good. Did give me the correct logo. I'll fix the colors later. Not going to worry about that. Now, how is the arena in the database? Is it? Yep, Brent Arena. That's the wrong capacity for that. Should be that. And we'll need an expansion draft for the NHL as well, which will be a little more generous than the WHA one was, but let's give them 20 players to start with. And if you remember when the NHL actually did expand, and even in the merger, but as well as the early 90s expansion to San Jose and Tampa and Ottawa, they didn't really use the expansion format there is now, where you could only lose a couple of players, a certain number of players per team. So I'm going to leave that on 50. I think teams can protect 16 players each. That's reasonable. And we'll let them take 2 goalies and 18 skaters, but we won't let them take anybody 21, or let's make it 22 and under. And I think that's okay. Yep. Okay, so I'm not going to be paying too much attention to what's going on in the NHL for the rest of this, because we're playing as a WHA. So what we've got coming up here in the league events now, I've got to submit a protected list today for the expansion draft. Then we've got on July 3rd is what sort of passes for the WHA draft. There was no real draft in the WHA at this point. It was basically just whoever you could sign. But what we've done instead is to sort of simulate the way they signed players in their last season, the 17-year-olds like Gretzky and Messier. I've added this WHA underage signings draft where it's just a single round draft with, I think I've got the age limit on it, this 17. We'll know that in a second. And that sort of passes for the draft, but really it'll be mostly free agent based. Now, you have to figure out who I'm going to protect here. Goalie's pretty simple. Liut and Baker. We've got Bob Janicek, who's theoretically 3.5 stars. That's WHA relative potential, by the way. That isn't relative to the NHL. So it looks a little better than it actually would be. 5 defensemen. Bill Nyrup, who we lured out of retirement / law school to play for us last year, did reasonably well. One of the problems we had last year was we were a little thin on defense. Do I protect Melrose? Dan Poulin, who would have a cup of coffee with the Stars in, I think, 81, had a pretty decent rookie season for us, so I'm going to protect him, and yeah, I'll protect Melrose. Just because I suspect he may do a little bit better than his potential rating indicates there. Robbie Ftorek, that's a no-brainer. Easily our best player, and Mike Gartner, future Hall of Famer. So easy choices there. Bentaka Gustafsson, good rookie season for us, and Gartner's teammate with the Capitals at this point in real life. I think this would have been his rookie year in the NHL. Maddie Hagman, who came back from Finland after his previous WHA career. We signed him last season, had a pretty good year for us. He was actually playing on Ftorek's wing most of the time. And Peter Marsh, a couple of right wings who had disappointing seasons last year, but hopefully can bounce back. Peter Marsh and Jamie Hislop. And that gets us up to 6, and we've got to protect 4 more. And man, there's not going to be much to pick for Houston here. Reggie Thomas, solid third liner. And 3 more to go. Don Larway, who we picked up midway through the season and didn't even get a single point in 23 games with us, so I don't know if we want to bring him back. Roland Stultz, who had a very brief NHL career later, a couple of years later after this, but he's 2 stars here, but he didn't really do anything for us last season. Dave DeBall, who was with Hartford for a little while in the NHL, I think I'm going to take him. 2 more. Paul Stewart, future ref, but he's coming off a broken ankle, and I don't think anybody's going to take him regardless. So we'll go with Stultz. And let's see, Ed Gilbert, who didn't play for us at all last year. Bill Gilligan, who I think was over in Europe by this point. In real life, Gordie Clark, who pretty decent AHLer, but didn't really make it with us last year. Byron Shutt, Steve Shutt's younger brother, and not nearly as successful. But I think I want to keep him because I don't have any other natural left wings on the roster right now. So that gets us up to 10. Now, I'm not going to do anything yet. Otherwise, And let's see, Houston is the expansion team. We would have had the first overall pick in the 1978 WHA underage signings draft, but I guess that goes to them. Looks like Indianapolis has traded for an extra pick there. Oh, incidentally, Gordie Howe did retire after this season, or after last season. He retired after this season, 79-80 in the NHL, but in this game he just retired after winning that last championship with Indianapolis, so they don't have him anymore. So let's see the expansion draft. Quickly go through this. Houston taking a goalie off the Jets, Jorma Valtonen, who I don't think ever came over to North America, Finnish national team goalie. Dave Langevin, pretty good pickup. Al Hangsleben. Oh, this is actually turning out better than I thought for them. Haven't taken anybody off of us yet. They're actually coming up with pretty good players. Oh, there we go. They do take Gordie Clark. Okay, and Paul Stewart, even with a broken ankle, they take him. Then Gilles Bilodeau right after that. Couple of tough guys. So how does Houston wind up looking? Oh, that's disturbing. Their D is already better than ours. Or at least has more depth. Wonder if we should try to get one of those guys from them. Now let's see what we get in the draft. And we don't, it may be tough to sign whichever guy we select in the draft. And how did the NHL expansion draft go? Oh, it hasn't happened yet. Okay, we'll do the rookie draft and take a look at that. So Houston takes Chris Chelios, which they know he's going to turn out pretty well. It's actually funny that Chelios and Oates are, we're drafting 17-year-olds. I think I mentioned that before. The Chelios and Oates are the top guys in this draft because they weren't particularly good prospects at this point. But the AI knows how they're going to turn out, so it will go for those guys. Now, Grant Fuhr, we got Liut in goal, so that's our goalie of the future. I don't really see much of a point in taking Fuhr and starting a 17-year-old in goal. That does not seem like a good idea. And I said we need a defenseman. Just taking a look at... Oh, that's not promising at all. Where are the defensemen? Bruce Driver, future New Jersey Devil. But he's only 3 stars potential. Tom Curvers. Oh, I didn't think Curvers was that old. Guess so. I remember him with the Canucks right at the end. Boy, okay, there's just not a lot there. Scout says we should take Oates, but Brent Sutter is out there as well. And is apparently the safest suggestion. Oates is a little more risk. Involved the mock draft. Fuhr went with this pick. And Sutter went 3rd. Oates didn't go till 6th. So I think I'm leaning towards Sutter here. But, oh boy, he's at least a season away. Although we'll be able to give him a little bit of playing time this year. Man, yeah, Oates is definitely more advanced at this point. There's Troy Murray, who'd be a better defensive pickup. Not that Sutter is particularly bad at that. Future Canuck Petri Skriko. I'm just going to go with the best player available here, and if we can get Sutter, great. Not sure if he's even going to sign for us, but it's worth a shot. And how does the rest of the draft go? Jeff Courtnall to the Oilers, Adam Oates to Indianapolis, so Oates and Gretzky together, and Grant Fuhr. See, they're rebuilding the 80s Oilers in Indianapolis, apparently. Troy Murray to Quebec. Bruce Driver, first defenseman taken to the Jets, and Scott Arniel to Quebec. Okay, and apparently they, well, for a single player, I guess, the Arrows supposedly had the best draft. They should have, because they had the first pick overall. Oh, and I was going to look at the Nhl Expansion, see how that turned out. Oops, that's the wrong one. So, Hardy Strom, he was actually a Colorado Rocky. So ironic that he goes to the Devils. Oh, Von Cornway is still playing. He hasn't retired yet like he did for real. And, oh wow, Montreal got hammered. This actually looks like a decent team they put together in New Jersey. It looks good by WHA, and even though I'm looking at an NHL team, those are by WHA standards. Oh, and a chat question. Does this game have the ability to, without modding, play it with real players from the older days? Just wondering if it's like OTP or not. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right here. These are the real players from 1979. So we're just doing something a little different with them, not shutting the WHA down when it actually did in 1979 and keep going after that. Yeah, this isn't a bad Devils team. And Michel Larocque is the backup goalie, although it looks like he's past his prime there. But yeah, they may not be as embarrassing as they were at the beginning of the NHL, their NHL run in the early 80s. Okay, so what do we got to deal with here? We want to try and sign Brent Sutter, as young as he is. And he's willing to do so for what appears to be a fairly reasonable price. Okay, I think we may get him there. And the NHL draft, you can see they're drafting 19, 20-year-olds. John Ogrodnik going first overall. So they're drafting players, and you can see that some of these guys are guys who signed at the WHA already. So, Brian Propp been playing in Indianapolis, Dave Christian in Winnipeg, Neil Broughton in Winnipeg. Wow, they're 280 U.S. Olympians with the Jets. So they will not be able to sign those guys quickly. We'll have to wait for their WHA contracts to run out, but you can expect them to be going first, and it'll be another, I think, couple of years before Gretzky is eligible for the NHL draft. And the other thing I should mention going on this year this is an Olympic year, obviously the Miracle on Ice in 1980, so come next February we'll see what the U.S. Olympic team looks like with having lost all those guys to the WHA. So they're going to be missing a few key players. I'm not really expecting them to be able to repeat the gold medal, but you never know. Now, concern number one now that Sutter signed was shoring up the D a little bit. And what is out there for free agents? I know I said last time we did this with Adam that I wasn't going to cheat and signed a bunch of young free agents that aren't eligible for the NHL yet. But I think after having played through a season, and I think most of these guys have been drafted at this point, so I am, if I make them an offer, the NHL is going to be making them an offer as well. So I think that's fair game to try to sign some of these young guys. Just out of curiosity, though, I'm going to see what happens if I set the minimum age to 21. Yeah, Joey Mullen, who's still in college at this point. Mark Johnson, another U.S. Olympian. And then, yeah, it gets pretty thin. Jürgen Pedersen, who has managed to get 60, 70 points for a couple of years for the Blues coming up. That's interesting. And Randy Gregg still on his way to medical school. Or no, he's 23. He must be in medical school at this point. But if I leave him, no, the only problem is he's only 1 star at this point, and I need help with the D right now. Yeah, I am going to have to sign the younger guy because there's just no decent, like, well, we got a couple of 2-star guys. Les Auger, who is sort of a fringe player on the Miracle on Ice team. A few Europeans who never did actually move over to North America. And a few guys who played in the WHA before. Nope, gonna go with the younger ones. Just look at defensemen first, although I think I'll grab at least 1 forward out of that group. Okay, Larry Murphy, Raja Ruotsalainen. He might be fun to have. We've already got another Finnish defenseman, Pekka Rautakalio. B-Wog, welcome to the chat. I didn't look how the wings did in this. Let me... Oh, is the volume low? I'm probably a little too far away from the mic. That better? I'm doing this without Adam tonight. He's had some kind of a plumbing emergency at home, so he's dealing with that right now. I'm assuming it's a home plumbing and not Adam's plumbing, which would be considerably more serious. Yeah, I'm going to, okay, sign Ruotsalainen. That should help bulk up our D a little bit, give us more depth, and he's a pretty good offensive player. In fact, we've got about 3 good offensive defensemen here, with Norwich and Rautakalio, and yeah, we'll give him exactly what he's asking for. And oh wow, Jari Curry is okay. Let's go with the Finns, and let's keep Indianapolis from signing all of the future Oilers. And I don't really want to overdo it, but I think I will try to grab Mike Polic, who I think is in... Surprised he's a free agent here. He was with the Stars at this point in real life. Oh, sorry, I'm not interested. Doesn't want to talk to us. And so we got Brent Ashton, totally unscouted, but I know he turned into a pretty capable player. The NHL bounced around a lot, but it was pretty good. So we do need a left wing, so I'll go for him. And we think I'll leave it at that for now. I don't want to really go overboard with the signings. Hopefully the other WHA teams do the same thing. Okay, so Ashton and Curry both signed. That's good news. Ashton can't have 15, but we will give him 16. And Curry can't have 17, so he can wear 9. And that's pretty good, but we've really got to get one of those right wings converted over. I think sorry with the mic. I'm kind of turned to the odd angle here because I'm looking at my side monitor that I'm playing on, and I think I keep drifting away from the mic, so I'll try to pay a little more attention to that. And go a couple more days and I should get, okay, there we go. We got Ruotsalainen and Sutter. So I think that's all the free agent signings we'll go with in the off season. Ruotsalainen can wear a 10, a little odd for a defenseman, but why not? And Sutter gets 21, sure. So yeah, Team Finland here. Rautakalio, Ruotsalainen, Hagman, and Curry. And a couple of Swedes thrown in there. wonder if I could get, let's see, I'm going to try Marsh. I'm going to shop him around and see if I can get a decent defenseman back in return for him. Oilers offering former Leaf Claire Alexander, Leaf and Canuck, 2.5 stars, but he's pretty old. Maybe. He would help right now. Jeff Brubaker, tough left wing, don't really want him. Brent Hughes, who's even older, 1.5 stars. Oh, and Houston's offering us Marty Howe. Oh, perfect. So Marty Howe's second run in Houston doesn't last very long at all, as we will take that deal. And yeah, the D is looking a lot better now. The top pairs are at least 2.5 stars or better. Rutsalainen is going to come up pretty quick and get his second half star, and then the bottom pair guys, we're going to have one of the number 6 guys going to be 1.5 stars, but not a huge deal. And I think I like this going up to the start of the regular season, or preseason rather. And no, Howe will give you a more traditional defenseman number. You can have 3. Doesn't like it. Too bad. Oh boy, that's not good. Maddie Hagman in a car crash. How bad? Fractured skull indefinitely out. Oh boy. Well then, remember when I was saying about not signing any more free agents? I think I might need to change that, because that leaves us a pretty big hole in the lineup, particularly on the first line. And conveniently, we've got the scouting report showing us the top free agents. NHL veteran Pierre Jarry, who was with Edmonton a couple of years ago, but doesn't look like he played last season. Tommy Williams, who was a pretty good player for the Kings even 2-3 years earlier, but seems to have gone downhill in a hurry. I think I'm going to go with Williams. Give him a shot at least. But I'm not really sure who's going to fill that first line left wing spot. I think could try Curry over there, or maybe go with Gustafsson. But yeah, I might as well put Hagman on the injury list, because he ain't coming back anytime soon. And Tom Williams signs, no problem. Oh, Hall of Fame induction ceremony coming up. Who's going in this year? Jacques Plante, not a surprise. Bert Olmsted, Henri Richard, and Doug Mons, who I don't think... yeah, he'd only... Oh, yeah, 74, he retired. Kind of a surprise. I think there were bigger names eligible this year, so... Let's see what happens next year. New player report, that's fine. And this will run us up.
Hey, Jeff.
Adam, what happened?
Oh, lots of fun. Nothing better than walking into the basement and hearing...
Oh, boy. Pipe burst, or...
It's just a big leak.
Oh.
Luckily got it fixed now, so I'm sorry, everybody.
But I think that's understandable. Just give you... I'll get you caught up, and if anybody else is coming in late, made a few free agent signings. Picked Brent Sutter in the abbreviated WHA draft, but he's not going to be playing much for us this year. He's only half a star, so we'll try to develop him, maybe give him some time in the minors. And I thought I was done with my preseason signings. And Maddie Hagman, who was our second best player last year, was in a car accident and is out indefinitely with a fractured skull.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just having as much fun as possible. Did you add any teams?
Yes, I added Houston back to the WHA,
so
and I added New Jersey to the NHL, even though Colorado also exists. So Colorado won't be moving in this game, and New Jersey starts a couple of seasons early.
That's fine, because Quebec's not coming into the league anyway, so...
Yeah.
Disappointing that you're leaving. I only had 8 teams though, Jeff. I was hoping you're going to crank it up.
Oh yeah, no, okay, we'll expand again. I mean, we can get through these pretty quickly, so I'll expand again. Following season, what was I looking for here? Oh, transactions. Anybody? Well, Stan Weir on the trading block, but don't really have a fit for him.
I feel like we need to take submissions for a new WHA logo too with our alternate universe. I think there might be one on the forums, but if anyone watching this video, whether it's
No, it's kind of a classic cheesy 70s logo. It doesn't really work that well on the blue background.
Yeah, well, if anybody comes up with something good, whether you're watching the stream right now or watching it on YouTube later, just give us send me a message on Twitter or on Facebook.
Oh, by the way, take a quick listen on Twitch if you haven't already, and tell me if my volume's okay.
All right, I will listen here.
They mentioned that I was a little low before. I think I was getting a little too far away from them. Oh, geez, we got another storyline injury. Dave Duvall has heat stroke.
Okay, you're sounding fine on my end.
Okay, cool.
So that's odd. Let me just try refreshing this.
What's odd?
No, nothing. I was just checking Steam.
Okay. Do I have... No, I'm doing everything manually. Let me check the scouting then. I think I need one more Western Canadian scout.
So, Jeff, just as you're going through this, and because I missed, and we haven't had our usual banter, how do you feel about the Canucks coming back and beating the Maple Leafs in multiple games?
Given up trying to figure out that team.
Who doesn't love seeing the Maple Leafs lose, though, and be all confused and blame the goaltender when it's clearly not all the goaltender's fault? But
yeah, but all we're really doing at this point is screwing up our draft pick. Okay, so I signed another scout just to improve our Canadian scouting a bit, and
I legitimately don't know this. Can they still make the playoffs?
Theoretically, but Montreal would have to tank hard.
Which is another question, the way Montreal is playing.
But even then, the Canucks have to have a ridiculous record down the stretch, and they've already got a brutal schedule, so I'm not counting on it. And even if we do make the playoffs, so what? We're going to go out in one round?
I don't know. If you're playing the Leafs, you might win that
True,
series.
It's assuming the Leafs will still be on top at that point. Okay, we are at the start of the preseason. What else was I going to do here? Oh, training. Keep that focused on Liut for the goaltenders. Don't really want to waste any more time on Melrose. Ruotsalainen, on the other hand. And I want to try and keep that bonus, the second number, above 10. No, too low. Hislop can lose it. Keep this focused on my prospects here. Not going to try and shore up any veterans.
Overall, not a bad-looking team you've assembled.
Yeah, the question is everybody else gotten a lot better too?
That is always the question.
And I will take a look at that in a second. Oh, I gotta get more to Sutter. I'm spreading defensive training way too thin. That's better. Okay, I'll leave it like that.
Oh, man.
And if I leave it to the AI's own devices, it gives me this lineup. I think I want Rotsalina in it. Yeah, I don't think Sutter's going to be playing for us this year. I was leaving Gustafsson out and taking Larway. No. And since I've brought a lot of new guys in, I think I'm going to try and go with a starting lineup right through training camp and try to build some chemistry. Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
So it actually wants to use Tom Williams on the first line.
Did Gordie Howe retire or is he still playing?
Gordie Howe retired.
Oh, man. What?
No, I want Gustafsson on the first line. That's better.
I feel like you should import Gordie Howe and bring him back.
It's only one season off of what he actually did.
That's why you can import him back and then let him do a 10-year deal and see how long he sticks around.
But let's just...
Actually, that would be kind of fascinating. You should absolutely do that.
No, I think he would. He's just he's so old at this point that it's kind of outside of what the game can handle, and it'll retire him after this season for sure. Even if I brought him back for another one.
So Jeff, I've never tried this myself, but because we're talking about importing players, I'm curious. Can you import the same guy multiple times?
Sure. Yep.
So what you're saying is we should do a stream where we have a team of Wayne Gretzky's playing?
Could do it. Wouldn't be able to do it in goal. I mean, you could,
Why not?
but I would have to do something weird with the ratings. I'd probably have to... No, I'd have to cheat a little bit because it's not a good idea to convert a skater to a goalie in the game. That makes things a little bit unstable.
Fine.
But yeah.
We'll put Grant Fuhrer in net or something and then play 18 Wayne Gretzky's. I like this idea.
Just going to take a look through the signings in the off season. Yeah, let's see. Birmingham was pretty aggressive signing young guys. We didn't do that much. Edmonton, they did get Jeff Courtnall, who they took in the draft. Shuffled a few players around. Oh, Edmonton does sign Dave Babbage. 18 years old. And Doug Wickenheiser. Yeah, see how I think we're going to see this over and over. The team's getting very aggressive signing the younger under 20 guys. Houston, not so much. I think it Andy Moog. Now, Indianapolis. Oh, so Indianapolis does sign both Grant Fuhrer and Adam Oates. Fuhrer is still technically 16 at this point. I think he's got a late birthday. Also signs Thomas Steen, Larry Murphy.
Indianapolis is going for it. I love it.
What does this roster look like at this point?
It's got Gretzky on it too, right? So
yeah, all 5 stars. Mike Bullard, the future Penguin, not the comedian.
I was going to ask if it was a comedian.
Different guys. That confused the hell out of me when the first time I saw like the name Mike Bullard on TV. Geez, that doesn't look like Mike Bullard.
What's amazing about that is like virtually no one else watching the stream has any idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, if they're Canadian, they do. Oh, Mike Bullard is sort of, what is he mostly known for? Talk show hosting.
Mike Bullard show.
Yeah, Mike Bullard show.
The Mike Bullard show back 20 some years ago.
But coincidentally, there was also an NHLer 20 years further back from that named Mike Bullard, and they're different guys.
Actually, I don't think Mark Bullard is quite 20 years ago. If memory serves, and let's go very Canadiana on this because
it's more like 10, 15, no, 15 at least.
No, what I was going to say was it's Canadian National Film Day. I think he was on about the same time Corner Gas was on, and so that was
roughly because.
Was about 2004 to 2009, and I think his tail end was kind of like 2005, without doing a Google search. but now I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I'm just looking through all the transactions lists for the WHA teams, and they're all pretty aggressive signing young
Okay,
guys. So this is going to be a very young league this year, I think. Winnipeg.
Jeff,
What's that?
we're kind of bad here because apparently the Mike Bullard show only lasted from November 24th, 2003 to March 11th, 2004.
No, that can't be right.
That's,
He was on
that
longer
was
than 1 year,
that was his television show. Yeah, no.
didn't he? He must have done other stuff then. It's
He's had open mic with Mike Bullard.
going to sim through the preseason. Let's see how we do against the Jets to start off.
Okay, there we go. Open mic started with in 97 and ran through 2004.
Got outshot, but a 3-1 win over the Jets to open the season.
So that was the prime time versus the late night show. So there we go.
And 3-1 loss to New England in the second game. Don't think I like. See, that's going to kill us. That's missing Hagman. I would have had him in the second line center spot. Sutter, you can go down. You're just not even close to being. Oh, he's too young, so we got to keep him on. We're going to have to keep Brent Sutter on the roster and play him a few games this year. Larway,
Open mic. I'm just reading back, but yeah, open mic, and then it turned into the Mike Bullard show. So yes, we're both right, but yeah, 97 to 2003, and then 2003
yeah,
to
that's
2004.
makes more sense.
With such popular segments as what did you buy with Canadian Tire money and why?
Now explain Canadian Tire to the non-Canadian Tire money to the non-Canadians here.
To the non-Canadian, to the Midwest Americans, it's like a Menards, but not as good. I don't know
but they
what
give
it
you
is
free
to...
money.
No, that's what Menards basically does.
Oh,
they don't
do
even give
to
out the money anymore.
Same gimmick.
Basically, it's
literally every Canadian. Whenever you buy something from Canadian Tire, you get, was it 10% back or 5% back in Canadian Tire dollars?
Not true either. It's not whatever you buy. It was if you bought cash or debit. If you use a credit card, you didn't get it.
Oh right, yeah, you had to. That was the incentive not to use credit cards. Wow, we got outshot badly by Gretzky and the Racers.
Other popular segments on the Mike Bullard show, just because we're on this minor tangent: open mic viewer of the week, the Canadian quiz, the insider, and of course the most important one: who the hell do you think you are, you drunk? And then a word I'm not feeling comfortable saying on the stream.
And of course, popular, this is in the context of Canadian TV popular, so not actually popular.
Those Canadian TV is pretty popular, Jeff. Don't underrate it. Don't underrate it. But there we go. There's our Mike tangent and Canadiana tangent for the week, because I know some people miss that.
Gonna give Sutter a game here. Got a couple of minor injuries on defense. I think this is our last exhibition game. Wow, 8-3 loss. Got blown out by Birmingham. Rick Vive with 6 points.
While you continue to talk about this, and because I've seen the question come up on our forums again, and I don't know, maybe you talked about it or not, a couple more people were asking about if there's any updates for when we might see the next update for FHM 7.
Yep, I hadn't mentioned it yet in this show, but still working on that. I've got a little bit more roster work I want to do this week, and we're still testing some stuff. I think what we're going to aim for is probably early-ish next week, do the open beta for a week or so we'll have a version for you to look at if you're on Steam at that point. And,
excellent.
Oh, we screwed up something here. You can see I've added to the development report. It's showing what the guy's current talent and potential are, but it's showing up in the internal format and not in the star ratings. So we got to fix that. That's something that's new to the update, because I am playing the most recent build, which seems to be stable, which is good news.
Yeah, good to know. And it wouldn't be a stream unless we found something, Jeff. Let's be honest.
To close out the exhibition season, we beat the Oilers 5-4 in overtime, because the WHA has overtime.
Does it have shootouts?
Oh, well, it looks like Indianapolis cut Rick Dudley loose. It does not have shootouts because shootouts are an abomination.
Says the guy who probably had his team lost a bunch of shootouts.
Okay. So I don't want Sutter playing regularly. He can go in if we get injuries, and sparingly at that. Why is that really Thomas's best role? No.
I thought you would have increased the players maybe up to 18 too.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
That's not a big deal. I mean, we're still playing that mostly at this time. We could flip it over for 1980.
Yep.
That'll help with some of our injury problems too. Get more guys skating.
Okay, and tactics. Let's bump down the aggressiveness a little. We don't really need to be giving up that many penalties, and we didn't go that heavy on the goons. Let's try to give Mike Liut a little bit of a break. He had a really bad season statistically last year. So let's see if we can help him out a little bit. And that's I think I went past it, but oh no, you can still see because we haven't ended the exhibition season. But now you can see the preseason point. Those are the preseason scoring leaders and goaltending leaders. We didn't have that active before.
Cool.
Season preview. Do they mention us at all? Mike Liut gets mentioned as the best goalie potentially. But now it's complete silence after that, about us at least. And a couple of number changes, and the season opener against the Oilers. Going to sim it quickly because we've got a couple of things going on with the 2D engine that I don't necessarily want to show yet. And we win it in overtime over the Oilers. Robbie Fatorik, a couple of points. Another good game from Liut, who I get the impression is going to hold us in a lot of games this season. And that was at Edmonton. And I think we're just running a little bit low on time, so play the home opener against Gretzky and the Oilers. How bad do we lose here?
8-2 loss.
4-1 loss. You were halfway there. It was halfway to what you figured. I think we actually might have shut out Gretzky, though. Oh, no, he had 1 assist. Wow, they got a lot of centers there. But a reasonably competent game against the Oilers, although Melria, the bottom end of our D, is still looking really shaky, although we do have those 2 injuries right now. Oh, we got more injuries on top of them. Leger is hurt. Craig Norwich still day-to-day. Mark, but can't play. Mark Howe also day-to-day. Dave Duvall lacerated hand for 2 weeks, so we're going to put in the half-star Sutter for a while. Let's hope we can improve quickly. Let's get one more game in. There we go. It's Winnipeg, and we do have some defensemen back. Norwich is still not quite ready, but Marty Howe is. So yeah, he can take on the first line D spot. And I'm going to give the Baker the start, because I think we overused Liut last year against Winnipeg. And it's a 7-3 loss. Bobby Hull, who hasn't retired. He actually lasted longer than Gordie Howe in this game.
I mean, Bobby Hull didn't retire yet. He did play a few games in the season. But
well, I mean, and then he sort of had that comeback
and then
with the Rangers a couple of years later, too, and that didn't really go anywhere.
So, no, he didn't. We talked about this. I think he played like just a couple games.
Okay,
Like
so,
officially, Winnipeg made a side deal with Chicago to keep his rights.
yeah. And how's he doing here? Yeah, 8 points in his first 4 games. So he's only 3.5 stars, and that's WHA relative stars. So I don't think he'd be playing too regularly if he was in the NHL at this point, but he's not. And I want to take a quick look here and just see how the expansion team shook out. Houston off to an 0-3-1 start, so apparently not very well for them. Oh, they got Andy Mogan goal, 19-year-old. And Chris Chelios managed to get himself suspended already. And they have a very young starting group of forwards, none of whom is scoring very much. And just a quick look over on the NHL side. New Jersey starting 0-3. Although Bob Bourne, who surprisingly was left available in the expansion draft, although that was from a pretty deep Islander team, and I think they may have loaded up for the Cup too, and that's what pushed him out. Yeah, it's mostly ex-Montreal guys, and New Jersey did sign Joey Mullen. And Pewog, you're still there. The Wings started 0-3. And that's looking very much like the late 70s, early 90s Wings team, or early 80s Wings team, which is to say not very good. And just for my own curiosity, how bad do the Canucks look? Oh, they picked up Gilles Meloche at some point.
That's not a bad pickup for them.
But other than that, yeah, basically where they were in real life at this point. Jerry Gillis before he suddenly headed downhill. And Fraser Smeal-Gradine all there. Lindgren snaps. Yep, mostly as I'd expect the Canucks. Okay, I think, yeah, we're getting pretty close to time there, so I think we will leave it there. Anything I've got to look at? No, I don't think so. Anything you can think of that we need to do here, Adam?
Scouts, assistant coach, trainers, you've already hit.
Byron Shutt got himself suspended for 7 games.
Just take a look at our depth chart here just so we can quickly peruse.
Not wildly different. I've still got the guys that I had last year signed. I'm probably going to have to call our way up just as insurance while we've got that suspension for Shutt.
Is there anything interesting on free agency or not? Still. Be the only last thing I think we should check.
Wow, that sure got all the under 20-year-olds cleaned out. Danny Jeffrion, who had the one good year for Winnipeg as a free agent. Late Ace Bailey, still I think who had retired at this point, who died on 9/11 real life.
Yeah.
He's out there. Dave Inkpin, who I think played briefly for Hartford after the merger. But yeah, just miscellaneous 1.5 2-star guys at best.
Talking about just historical, you know what today marks? Speaking of which, again from friend Mike Camito on Twitter, points out 70 years ago today was Bill Barrico's last NHL game.
Bill last time where he scored the goal and then decided to go on a fishing trip and plane crashed, and like the song says, the Leafs didn't win the cup again until they found his body, how many years later?
1962.
62.
Yep. 50 mission cap.
Yep. And more Canadiana there to close it out, I guess. Okay, so yeah, that's... do you want to wind
I
up?
mean, you talked to Ace Bailey, and I thought about that. So, all right, so winding it up then. I got to think about this because I'm used to doing the intro. I don't want to mess this up. Thank you very much for tuning in to another Franchise Hockey Manager 7 stream. We typically stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OOTP Developments. All of our streams are archived on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OOTP Developments as well. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we're at Franchise Hockey. We can also find a link to our official Discord in our Twitter bio. Of course, you can come down to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on that community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums where you can come talk about Franchise Hockey Manager 7, Out of the Park Baseball, Perfect Team, Out of the Park Go, or anything else you wish to discuss. Jeff, I don't think I missed anything.
No,
But if I did,
covered pretty much everything there. Like I said, we'll probably do an open beta of the new update coming sometime next week. I've got a couple of things I want to finish up here, but I think we're in pretty good shape. We've got everything added that we wanted to add. There was one, just a very simple thing that Sebastian was finishing up, but I think it's everything we want to do is all into it now. We'll probably go a few more days and just look for any bugs, and or if anything comes up that we haven't seen before over the weekend, get that in. I got to wind up the database. That's what I'm going to be doing later tonight, or at least some more work on it. I may keep it for another 2 days, beyond a couple of days beyond this, just to get it into have a really good look through it before we do a final version. Because this will be the post-trading deadline one, probably the final database update for the game. But yeah, we should have that to you probably within the non-public beta. The official release version target is probably about 2 weeks from now, roughly, assuming everything goes well. So thank you for coming out, and we'll be back next week with Adam's San Jose Sharks game, which, again, we're doing considerably better than this, although we had been struggling a little bit last time, didn't we?
Yes, but we made a big trade, so we'll see if that pays off in the next episode.
Okay, so thanks for coming out, and we will see you back here next week.